For a wider look at China's economy, CGTN's Rachelle Akuffo spoke to Anthony Chan. He's former chief economist at JPMorgan Chase, and he begins by explaining why certain sectors have been doing well.
The strength in the Chinese statistics, obviously due to the fact that in the first quarter of last year we had the pandemic, there was a huge 6.8% contraction in real GDP. And so the numbers are coming off a very soft base, and that's the reason why we're seeing so much strength.
Now, we saw strength in those sectors, not so though when it comes to the unemployment sector, especially when it comes to young Chinese. Why do you think this continues to be a challenge?
Well, the unemployment rate statistics are always a bit challenging. It doesn't include the migrant workers or the self-employed workers, but still, the fact that a lot of the recovery in the Chinese economy has been manufacturing based or focused and not necessarily in the service sector is one of the reasons why the unemployment rate continues to lag the overall economy.
And we do know that the Chinese government does plan at some point to pull back on some of the stimulus now that some of the recovery is picking up more speed. But we do know that world leaders are concerned about an uneven post-pandemic recovery. What can China do to try and offset that?
Well, one of the things that China can do is to slow down credit growth. They certainly want quality growth to occur. Obviously, they're going to move towards a green-based economy. They're going to make a lot of changes, but the numbers are so far suggesting that they're not in a rush to do that. TSF, which is a proxy for credit growth, still came in a little bit stronger, I think, than the market was expecting. But at some point, they will slow down. And you saw that certainly in the five-year plan, when they're talking about slowing economic growth to somewhat higher than 6%. My suspicion is that despite saying that, the economy will still come in at least at 9% growth. But at the same time, China does have the luxury to be able to calibrate its growth because it was the only major industrialized nation last year to actually show positive economic growth. They grew at 2.3% with all the other major economies like the US and Europe that were all contracting. So they have the opportunity to take this step.
And as you speak about the blueprint that was laid out in the five-year plan as China wrapped up its most important political season with the two sessions, talk about some of the other important economic takeaways that were really laid out in that blueprint.
Well, I think that one of the things that China has to focus on, obviously, is self-sufficiency, especially in technology. They've had some issues trying to get some chips from the United States, and they also have their goals to be able to make the economy less dependent on fossil fuels and things of that nature, more recycling, and balance their economy. So over the next 5 to 10 years, as they start to move away from fossil fuels, there's going to be a lot of changes on the part of the overall economy, and certainly making themselves self-sufficient in the areas that they need to basically support their economic growth is going to be paramount for China.
And clearly this plan was only recently laid out, but it does come ahead of a very important meeting that's going to be happening in Alaska between the two sides. Talk about who's participating and really the significance of this meeting.
Well, I think it's significant because it comes on the back of major officials from the United States going into Asia, and they certainly are going to be talking to China in Alaska. And my suspicion is that they will come basically to some sort of a truce to make sure that some of the tensions that were there in the prior administration will be tempered down. Not to say that everything is going to be perfect between both nations, but my suspicion is that both sides will make reasonable demands of each other and come to some sort of an agreement, and it'll be less confrontational than we have seen in the last several years.
And to that point, then, a lot of people are wondering perhaps if the rhetoric will change, but perhaps the actions will stay the same. How do you think President Biden's approach will differ from his predecessor?
Well, I think that Biden will be more focused on trying to generate multilateral agreements instead of bilateral agreements. And that, of course, will involve consultation with Europe, consultation with other parts of the world, along with China. And I think that that, in the end, will be positive for the global economy and positive for the U.S. and also positive for China. And that will be a major shift of what we've been accustomed to over the last 4 years.
And as we look at the potential agenda there, the key and the most pressing economic issues, what's likely to top the agenda between these two?
I think that right now they're probably going to focus early on the things that both countries are in agreement on, and that is, of course, climate change. China certainly has been talking a lot about that in their 5-year plan and a lot of discussions they've been having. And of course, that was top front and center on the Biden administration campaign. So my suspicion is that they will focus on the things that both countries agree on first, and then go on to the tougher issues in the years to come.